All right, ready to dive deep into Jordan Sinclair's Unstoppable You.
Absolutely, let's do it.
It's not just your typical success book.
Yeah, it's more about unleashing your potential,
Yeah,
becoming the best version of yourself, I guess.
exactly. So we'll be pulling out those key insights, the stuff you can actually use.
And get practical, right?
Exactly, no fluff. And what I really like is how Sinclair focuses on that inner transformation.
Right. He calls it an awakening. It's not just about achieving external things.
Yeah, he kind of shifts the focus inward, doesn't he?
Oh.
Like how you approach any goal, big or small, how you see yourself in the process.
It's about changing your mindset more than anything else.
Totally. He talks about this idea of resilience being like inner armor.
Yeah, helping you face those challenges that inevitably come up.
And get this, he compares self-awareness to shining a spotlight on your hidden habits.
Oh, that's a good one. Those things we do without even realizing it.
Yeah, running on autopilot. So he starts off by talking about embracing change.
Which can be scary for a lot of people, stepping outside that comfort zone.
Oh, totally. He actually compares staying in your comfort zone to like missing out on amazing views because
Yeah.
you're too afraid to cross a wobbly bridge.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. It makes you think. And he has a really interesting way of looking at fear of failure.
He calls it feedback, which I thought was brilliant.
It takes the sting out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding mistakes.
It's about using those mistakes as stepping stones, learning from them.
So it's about that mindset shift again. Like instead of thinking I messed up, it's okay. What can I learn from this?
Exactly. What did that experience teach me? How can I grow from it?
So I'm curious, what really resonated with you about this whole embracing change idea?
Well, a couple of things, actually. First, his emphasis on starting small.
Oh yeah, he's big on that, isn't he? Small changes, celebrating those little wins,
It's about building momentum, step by step.
and not getting overwhelmed by trying to do too much at once.
Right, because that's when people give up.
He also talks about challenging that negative self-talk, the voice that says you can't do it.
Oh, we all have that voice, don't we? It can be so loud sometimes.
He's all about replacing it with something more positive, like a friend cheering you on.
Like a little pep talk, right?
Exactly. Which leads perfectly into chapter 2, the power of self-awareness.
It's amazing how much we do on autopilot without even realizing it.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever reacted to something without thinking and then later thought, why did I do that?
Happens all the time, especially when I'm stressed.
Me too. And that's where self-awareness comes in. It helps you press pause before reacting.
Like that split second where you can choose a different response.
Yes. Sinclair gives this example. Imagine you're super stressed about a deadline, and a coworker makes a casual comment.
You know, something that wouldn't normally bother you.
Right, but in that moment, you might snap back. But with self-awareness, you can recognize that your reaction is out of proportion.
You can see that it's the deadline stress talking, not you.
And that's huge. It's about understanding what triggers those reactions.
And then you can start to manage them better.
Exactly. Sinclair suggests a few exercises to boost self-awareness.
Like what? I'm always looking for practical tips.
Well, one is daily reflection. Even just taking a few minutes to think about your day.
I can see how that would be helpful, just to process things.
And he also suggests seeking feedback from people you trust, which can be tough, but so valuable.
Especially if it's honest feedback, even if it's not what you want to hear.
Right, because sometimes we need that outside perspective to see things more clearly.
It can be a blind spot.
Totally. He also talks about mindfulness.
Oh, yeah, that's become so popular lately. What's his take on it?
Well, he describes it as observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Kind of like watching clouds drift by.
Exactly. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you don't try to control them.
That's a good way to put it. So we're getting clear on our habits, learning to pause before reacting. Now what?
Now let's talk about setting goals that actually matter. Chapter 3.
Okay, goal setting. I'm intrigued.
Sinclair emphasizes it's not about a to-do list. It's about creating a vision that aligns with what's important to you.
Makes sense. Your goals should reflect your values.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. He uses this framework called SMART goals.
I've heard of that. Stands for?
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. So it's about getting really clear on what you want to achieve.
And he says a lot of people set goals that are way too vague. Like, I want to be healthier.
Yeah, that's not very actionable, is it?
Nope. A SMART goal would be something like, I'm going to walk for 30 minutes 3 times a week for the next month.
Oh, I see the difference. That's specific, measurable, you know exactly what to do.
And he talks about breaking those big goals down into smaller steps.
So you don't get overwhelmed and give up.
Exactly. It's about those small wins that keep you motivated.
It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Uh,
Okay, let's move on to chapter 4, building self-confidence.
okay, confidence. Now, that's something I think a lot of people struggle with.
A lot of people think you either have it or you don't, right?
Yeah, like it's some magical quality that some people are born with.
But Sinclair challenges that assumption. He has this great line in the book: confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about knowing your worth and your imperfections.
Oh, I like that. It's about self-acceptance.
Exactly. Like you can't build a solid house on shaky ground, right?
True. It has to start with a strong foundation,
He also talks about positive self-talk, that inner voice we all have.
which can be pretty mean sometimes.
Oh, tell me about it. He gives this exercise.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you're talking to a friend who's feeling down. You wouldn't be harsh or critical, right?
No, of course not. You'd be supportive.
Exactly. He says to talk to yourself the same way. Be your own cheerleader.
That's a good reminder. We're often way harder on ourselves than we would be on anyone else.
So true. And of course, practice is key. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more your confidence grows,
Even if you're scared.
especially if you're scared. Because that's how you prove to yourself that you can handle it.
I guess it's like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Right. It becomes less scary. Sinclair suggests setting small, achievable goals early on to get those early wins.
Each win is a confidence boost, right?
Exactly. Like leveling up in a video game. Makes you feel like you can conquer anything.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident already. What's next?
Now let's talk about resilience. Sinclair calls it armor that helps you face challenges.
We touched on that earlier, didn't we? But it's worth exploring further.
Definitely. And it's not about avoiding tough stuff. It's about using those experiences to grow.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, he talks about reframing challenges as opportunities.
Instead of, why is this happening to me? It's, what can I learn from this?
Exactly. It's a shift in perspective. He also emphasizes taking care of yourself.
That's so important. You can't be resilient if you're running on empty,
And he talks about practicing self-compassion.
which can be hard, especially when we make mistakes.
I know. But it's about treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend.
Everyone makes mistakes. It's how you handle them that matters.
And Sinclair actually gives this framework for turning setbacks into strengths. Analyze, find the lesson, and apply.
So you take that experience, figure out what went wrong, and extract the lesson.
And then use that knowledge to move forward.
Right.
Pretty brilliant, right?
It turns a negative into a positive. That's resilience in action.
Okay, let's talk about motivation, the fuel that keeps us going.
Because we all need a little boost sometimes.
Sinclair breaks it down into two types: intrinsic and extrinsic.
Intrinsic being.
The motivation that comes from within, like a sense of purpose or passion.
You're doing it because you love it, not because you're expecting some reward.
Exactly. Extrinsic motivation is driven by those external rewards,
Yeah.
things like money or recognition.
Okay, I see the difference. And which one does he say is better?
Well, he emphasizes finding your why, that deeper reason behind your goals.
Like a driving force.
Yes. He says it's like a compass that guides you through those ups and downs.
That makes sense. Because motivation can come and go, but if you have a strong why, you're more likely to stay on track.
Exactly. He also gives some practical strategies for boosting motivation.
Like what? Spill the secrets.
One of my favorites is setting clear goals with rewards built in.
Oh, like giving yourself something to look forward to.
Exactly. It makes the journey more enjoyable.
That's smart. What else?
He also talks about visualization, vividly imagining yourself achieving your goal.
I've heard of that. Does it really work?
Well, he says it makes it feel more real, more tangible, which helps fuel your drive.
I can see how that would be helpful. And one more strategy.
Creating a routine, turning motivation into action by incorporating it into your daily life.
So it's not just a feeling, it's about consistent action.
Exactly. Speaking of habits, they're the building blocks of lasting change, which is what Chapter 7 is all about.
Habits, huh? I feel like I've tried to build good habits and failed a million times.
I hear you. But Sinclair makes this point. Motivation gets you started, but habits are what keep you going. He talks about the habit loop.
Habit loop. Okay, what's that?
The cue, the routine, and the reward. Understanding this loop is key to building positive habits.
So like if you want to start exercising in the morning,
Your cue could be setting out your workout clothes the night before.
the routine is the actual workout.
And the reward could be that feeling of accomplishment afterward, or maybe a healthy breakfast.
Makes sense. And what are some of his tips for making those habits stick?
He's a big fan of starting small, like with micro habits.
Micro habits.
Let's say you want to start meditating, but the thought of 30 minutes overwhelms you. Start with just 5 minutes a day.
So you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Right. And once that feels easy, you gradually increase it.
Okay, I like that approach. Small steps.
He also suggests habit stacking, which is linking a new habit to an existing routine.
Habit stack.
Like, if you always make coffee first thing in the morning, try adding a quick stretch or meditation right after.
Because you're already doing that first thing anyway.
Exactly. It makes it more likely to stick.
I'm going to try that.
And, of course, tracking your progress can be motivating.
It's like a visual reminder that you're moving in the right direction.
Okay, we're going to wrap up this first part with Chapter 8, Persistence.
The key to making it all happen, right?
Absolutely. Sinclair highlights that persistence is what separates dreamers from those who achieve.
It's the willingness to keep going even when it gets tough.
Exactly. He talks about embracing the process, finding joy in the journey, not just the destination.
Because the journey is where the growth happens, right?
So true. And keeping your why front and center so you don't lose sight of what matters.
It's like that North Star that keeps you on track.
He also offers strategies for building a persistent mindset. Setting realistic milestones for big goals is key.
Breaks it down into manageable chunks, right?
And each time you hit a milestone, it's a victory. Keeps you motivated.
He also suggests creating accountability by sharing your goals with someone.
Someone who will support you and cheer you on.
Having that support system can make a big difference.
And, of course, rewarding yourself along the way.
Celebrate those wins, no matter how small.
Because it's all about acknowledging your progress and keeping that momentum going.
Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this whole unstoppable thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
But we've covered a lot of this first part. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I'm really impressed with how practical and actionable the advice is. It's not just theory. Sinclair gives you concrete tools and strategies that you can use right away.
Exactly. It's not just about reading a book. It's about making real changes in your life.
And I love how he emphasizes the importance of mindset, because that's really where it all starts, right? Your beliefs about yourself and what you're capable of.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, our mindsets can change. We can choose to believe in ourselves and our ability to create the life we want.
And even if we don't have all the answers right now, we can keep learning and growing.
That's the beauty of it. It's an ongoing journey.
I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Me too. So, to be continued.
Most definitely. There's still so much to explore.
All right. We'll pick up where we left off in part 2. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. You know, it's amazing how Sinclair takes these big ideas and makes them so practical.
Right. Like it's not just some, motivational fluff.
Exactly. It's stuff you can actually use in your everyday life.
So just to recap, we've talked about embracing change, right?
As a way to grow.
And the power of self-awareness.
To understand your reactions and stuff.
And setting smart goals that actually, align with what you want.
Not just random things.
And building self-confidence.
By accepting yourself, warts and all.
We even touched on resilience, like bouncing back from challenges.
Right. And finding your why.
That deeper purpose.
And how habits can make change last longer.
And persistence, like sticking with it even when it gets tough.
It's like he's given us this toolkit for self-improvement.
Exactly. But he also says, don't try to master everything at once.
It's progress, not perfection.
It's about taking those small steps.
And, you get to decide what success looks like.
This is where it gets really interesting, right?
Because sometimes we chase these goals that aren't really, true to ourselves.
Sinclair's like, get clear on what matters to you.
What brings you joy? What kind of impact do you want to make?
So as we go on this self-improvement journey, here's a question.
Okay, I'm listening.
What does truly fulfilling success look like for you?
It's a big question.
What makes your heart sing? What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Could be anything, right? Strong relationships, helping others.
There's no right or wrong answer.
It's about what resonates with you.
It's about becoming the best version of yourself and using that to create a life that feels good.
So keep that question in mind.
What does fulfilling success look like?
Because as you grow, your definition of success might change too.
And that's okay.
Growth is about embracing those changes.
You don't need all the answers right now.
Just be open to the journey.
Remember that whole unlocking your inner superhero thing?
Yeah, that was fun.
What if you could choose any superpower? What would it be? How would you use it?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Would you heal, inspire, create, solve problems?
It's a good way to think about your potential.
It's about dreaming big.
Believing you can make a difference.
We all have strengths and talents.
We can use them to make the world better.
So embrace your inner superhero.
You don't need a cape.
The real magic is in those small actions.
They create ripples of change.
One act of kindness, one moment of courage, one step outside your comfort zone.
It all adds up.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, Any key takeaways that really hit home for you?
For me, it's self-awareness and aligning your goals with your values,
Like a compass and a map.
guiding you on your journey.
I was struck by the resilience and persistence stuff.
Life's full of challenges.
It's not about avoiding them, it's about bouncing back.
And finding that motivation to keep going.
This has been all about giving you the tools to create lasting change.
To become the most unstoppable version of yourself.
So here's one last question for this part.
Hit me with it.
What's one small step you can take today to move closer to your unstoppable you? Could be like journaling or something.
Yeah, or just taking 5 minutes to think about what you really want.
It's those little things that add up over time.
And the important thing is to, commit to yourself.
Take that action.
Trust the process.
This has been awesome, really diving into unstoppable
Yeah,
you.
I've learned a lot.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us.
Hope you got something out of it.
Remember, you have the power to change your life.
It starts with one step.
Embrace your potential.
Become the best version of yourself.
And hey, maybe you'll discover some superpowers along the way.
The power to inspire, to create, to overcome anything.
We believe in you.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Most importantly, believe in yourself.
Create a life that feels meaningful.
Until next time, keep striving.
To be unstoppable.
We'll see you then.